Welcome aboard and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host. I'm Lee Perry, and I am the Pirate Therapist. Before we drop anchor into today's topic, I need to take a second and acknowledge something that for me is pretty big. If you're listening to this today, maybe we need to break out the good rum or sparkling cider or whatever floats your fancy, because today is episode 52. And doing one of these a week, that makes one solid year without missing any, 1 year of the Pirate Therapist episodes. Now, that may not mean a whole lot for you, but for me, that's a milestone. That was where I decided I wanted to go and check and see if this was worth doing. So we've been at it a year, and this is my last episode for the first year. Next week will be the first episode of the second year. So it means officially we've been sailing together for exactly 1 full year. And, when I launched this ship a year ago, I really just wanted to throw a lifeline out into the ocean. I wanted to create a space where we could rebel against systems that tell us that we need to be perfect or we need to be always producing something. We always need to smile. I wanted some place where we could navigate the actual messy storms of life with a little bit of grit, a little bit of grace, and a lot of self compassion. To see my crew growing over the last 52 weeks, to read any messages, and to know that you're out there holding the line when the waters get rough, it means the world to me. Thank you for trusting me to be one of your captains, and thank you for being a part of this crew. It's incredibly fitting, I think, that our 1 year anniversary lands on the exact same weekend as Father's Day. Because just like everything else we talk about on this ship, Father's Day is not a simple, clean, one size fits all holiday. For some of you, today is beautiful. It's an easy celebration. But for a lot of you, today can be heavy. It brings up grief for dads that are no longer with us. It brings up complicated emotions about distant or absent fathers. And maybe it brings up the heavy, silent pressure that you feel as a dad yourself, just trying to navigate fatherhood without a clear map or a compass. The world likes to hand us a pristine, perfect Hallmark card today, but around here, we know that the reality is a lot more complicated. So today, we're going to talk about all of it: the good, the hard, the legacy that we inherit, and the legacy that we leave behind. Take a deep breath with me, get comfortable in your seat, and let's talk about the messy, beautiful reality of Father's Day. When you walk into a grocery store this week and you see an aisle full of the world's best dad mugs or golf jokes or pictures of guys happily grilling in the backyard, that's the map that society gives us. But as your captain, as the Pirate Therapist, I have to tell you, that map doesn't always match the territory. So let's talk about why today feels so heavy for so many people. In the therapy world, we understand that holidays can act as a massive emotional amplifier. Think of a holiday like a giant magnifying glass held over the cargo of the hold in your ship. If your cargo hold is full of good things, a loving dad and great memories, healthy relationships, the holiday amplifies that joy. It makes the good things feel bigger and brighter. But if your cargo hold is carrying grief or betrayal, maybe abandonment, maybe just something complicated, disappointment, the holiday amplifies that too, and it turns the volume up to a 10. You can ignore a leaky hull on the random Tuesday in October, but on Father's Day, the water starts rushing in. The holiday forces you to look at the exact thing you spend the rest of the year trying to navigate around. And what makes this minefield so dangerous is the world that we live in. We don't just have to deal with our own feelings, we have to deal with everyone else's performance. You open up on social media today and you are immediately hit by a tidal wave of perfection. It's endless photos of matching outfits, fishing trips, and paragraphs about how my dad is my best friend and the greatest man on earth. If you're someone who didn't get that dad, seeing those posts can feel like taking a cannonball straight to the gut. It isolates you. It tricks your brain into thinking, well, everyone else has a good dad. Everyone else is sailing safe and happy on their ship. I am the only one out here drowning. And then we get into the toxic positivity, the pressure to perform. I have talked to so many clients who feel pressured to post a glowing tribute to fathers on Father's Day, mothers on Mother's Day, just social media pressures. And they are actively harmed by them. I have talked to so many clients who feel pressured to post a glowing tribute to a father on Father's Day who actively harmed them, or a father that they haven't spoken to in years, just to keep up appearances, just to make sure the rest of the family doesn't get uncomfortable. So, I want to talk about staging a mutiny against this performance requirement. This is where I step in as the pirate therapist. I'm officially giving you permission to stage a mutiny against that performance today. You do not have to perform for anyone. If your relationship with your dad is messy, painful, if it's a minefield, you don't have to put on a fake smile and walk through it just to make the holiday comfortable for somebody else. You don't owe the world a Hallmark card when your reality is more storm. I want to give you a very clear, very firm permission slip for today. If you need to log off social media entirely for the next 24 hours to protect your peace, do it. Delete the app off your phone right now. If you need to stay in bed, watch terrible reality TV, and treat yourself like today is just completely average, meaningless Sunday, do it. If you need to cry because of the grief of losing your dad, it's feeling suffocating today, okay, let the waves come. Cry until you can't anymore. You are the captain of your own ship. You get to decide how to navigate today. There is no right way to survive an emotional minefield. Your only job today is to protect your peace, whatever that looks like for you. So, I want to talk about toxic positivity. I want to zoom in on that phrase for just a second because we hear it a lot in the mental health world. Okay, toxic positivity. Well, what does that look like on Father's Day? Toxic positivity is the cultural demand that we take our pain, our trauma, or our grief, and we wrap it up in a pretty acceptable little bow, and it's in the good vibes only mindset. And when it comes to family, toxic positivity is incredibly loud. It sounds like people saying, well, he did his best he could, he did the best he could, or you only get one dad, you should reach out. Or maybe there's one even worse. Blood is thicker than water. You just need to forgive and forget. Let me paint you a pirate therapist metaphor for what toxic positivity actually does. Imagine your ship has a massive gaping hole in the side of the hull. The water is rushing in, the wood is rotting, and you're terrified. Toxic positivity is society walking up to you, handing you a bucket of bright, cheerful yellow paint and saying, just paint over the hole. Look at the sunshine. Focus on the positive. Painting over rot does not fix the ship. It just forces you to drown with a smile on your face. When society demands that we silver line our painful relationships with our fathers, it does massive psychological damage. It tells you that your anger and your hurt, that your grief, that these are bad emotions that make other people uncomfortable. So what do? You take all of that very valid pain and you shove it down into a dark cargo hold of your ship. You suppress it. You post a happy picture on Instagram. You buy the generic thanks dad card at the store and you pretend that the hole in the hull isn't there. But unexpressed pain doesn't just disappear. It ferments. It ferments in the dark and eventually it destroys you from the inside out. This is where I want you to rebel. On this podcast, we do not do good vibes only. We do real vibes. If your dad was absent, you don't have to pretend he was secretly a hero. If he was toxic or abusive, doing his best does not excuse the fact that his best caused you deep, lasting harm. You are allowed to acknowledge that damage. If you're grieving a dad who loved you deeply, you do not have to focus on the good times today if what you actually need to do is to sob because you miss him. You are allowed to feel exactly what you feel today without painting over it. You don't owe anyone a sanitized, comfortable version of your story. The truth is the only compass that will actually get you out of the storm. And today, your only job is to honor what is true for you. Once we throw toxic positivity overboard and refuse to paint over the rotting wood, we're left with something very vulnerable. the raw truth of how we actually feel. And for a lot of us, the moment we stop pretending, the emotions hit us like a rogue wave. When that happens, our first instinct is usually to fight it. We start judging ourselves and we think, well, I shouldn't be this angry about something that my dad did 10 years ago. Or I shouldn't be crying this hard. He's been gone for 5 years. We treat our own feelings as if they are a mutiny that we have to put down. But I want you to remember the core rule of pirate therapy. Okay. Feelings are just weather. If you're standing on the deck of your ship and a massive thunderstorm rolls in, you do not have to yell at the sky for raining. You don't have to judge the clouds. You you don't say, "Well, it was sunny yesterday, so it shouldn't be raining today." You just accept that it's raining, you put on a coat, and you weather your time through the storm. Your emotions are the exact same thing. You don't have to judge them, fix them, or apologize for them. You just have to weather the weather. You just have to let it happen. So, right now, I'm handing you the ultimate pirate therapist permission slip. I want you to take this and I want you to put it in your pocket and I want you to use it all day long. If you need to feel furiously angry today at a father who let you down, you have permission to be angry. Anger is just the part of you that loves yourself enough to know that you deserved better. If you feel completely or totally numb today, you have permission to be numb. Numbness is just your nervous system acting as a shield when your feelings are too big to process. It's a survival skill and it's okay. If you need to feel a profound, aching grief because the captain of your family is gone and you miss him so much that you can't breathe, you have my permission to grieve. Grief is just love with nowhere to go. Let it out. You don't have to fight the waves today. The paradox of mental health is that the moment you stop fighting the storm, the moment you finally give yourself permission to just feel exactly how you feel without judging it, that's when the storm actually starts to pass faster. So drop the act, drop the performance. Whatever the weather is doing in your mind today, let it rain. You are safe on this ship and your feelings are welcome here. I want to take a minute and speak directly to the crew members who are dealing with a ghost ship today. In therapy, grief and absence are two of the heaviest anchors that we carry. And on Father's Day, those ghost ships might appear right on the horizon. The first ghost ship I want to acknowledge is the one that sailed on. This is for those of you who had a dad that you loved deeply, a dad who was a good captain and now he's gone. You are navigating this holiday without him. There's a massive misconception in our culture that grief is a staircase. People will tell you that time heals all wounds and that every year you just take a step up and it gets a little easier and a little easier until one day you're cured of your grief. But anyone who has actually lost a parent knows that that's a lie. Grief is not a staircase, it's an ocean. Some years the water is calm, and you can wake up on Father's Day, look at a picture of him, and laugh at one of his terrible dad jokes and feel a warm, peaceful gratitude that you had him at all. You feel steady. But then, out of nowhere, the weather changes. It might be a year or two, and it might be 20. You just walk into a hardware store and smell the exact brand of sawdust or oil that your dad used to smell like. Or you hear his favorite song in the grocery store. Or you just wake up and a rogue wave of grief hits you so hard it knocks you completely off your feet. You find yourself sobbing in the car, wondering how the world is still spinning when your dad isn't in it. If you're currently underwater from one of these rogue waves today, I want to validate you. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not backsliding in your healing. You just hit a storm. When that heavy, suffocating grief hits, we often try to push it away because it hurts so much. But as your therapist, the pirate therapist, not your actual therapist, I want to reframe that pain for you. Grief is not a punishment. Grief is a receipt for a bill that's paid in love. You only hurt this badly because you loved him that deeply. The massive hole left in your ship is the exact size and shape of the beautiful space that he occupied in your life. You cannot have the profound gift of a wonderful father without eventually paying the terrible price of missing him when he leaves. So today, if you're looking out at the horizon, missing the ship that sailed on, don't fight the tears. Let them come. Honor the captain that you lost. Talk to him out loud if you need to. Your grief is just your love looking for him. And that love is a beautiful thing to carry. The second ghost ship I want to talk to you about is much more complicated. We're going to call this the pirate who plundered. This message is for those whose fathers are still physically alive, but who were never the captains that they were supposed to be. Your father might have been abusive, toxic, manipulative, or completely coldly absent. He might have been the very person who blew holes in your hole. Well, we could call this, I guess, a disenfranchised grief. It means a grief that society does not recognize or allow you to speak out loud. And the grief of having a toxic living parent is one of the most disenfranchised griefs in the world. When someone's father dies, society rallies around them. People bring casseroles, they send cards, they understand the pain. But when you cut ties with an abusive father to protect your own mental health, or when you're mourning the fact that your living dad just doesn't care about you, society doesn't know what to do with that. They get uncomfortable. They give you the toxic positivity that we talked about a little earlier. Oh, but he's still your dad. You only get one. So you're left in this space to grieve in total silence. But I want to say it out loud for you right now. You are allowed to mourn the person who is still breathing. When you look around today at all the happy families, the barbecues, and the sweet social media posts, you're going to feel a profound, aching grief. But you're not grieving the man who hurt you. You're grieving the father that you deserved, but never got. Every child deserves a captain who makes them feel safe and protected. Every child deserves to be unconditionally loved. When you don't get that, it leaves a very specific kind of scar. It's a wound of betrayal. And today, seeing a map of what fatherhood is supposed to look like only highlights the painful territory that you had to survive. If your dad was the pirate who plundered, if he took your peace, your safety, and your childhood, I need you to listen to me right now. And I need you to let this sink in deep into your bones. His failure to love you properly was never a reflection of your value. It was a reflection of his own brokenness. A terrible captain blames his crew for a sinking ship, but the failure is always on the captain. You were just a kid. You didn't cause his anger. You didn't cause his absence, and you could not have fixed him by being better. You are always worthy of a safe harbor. If you're estranged from your father today to protect your own ship, I will validate that boundary. You're very brave for breaking that cycle. Don't let society guilt you into inviting that pirate back into your ship just because it's a holiday. Now, there is a third ghost ship that I'd like to acknowledge. And this one's almost never talked about in our culture, especially amongst men. This is the ship waiting in the harbor. This is the unmet longing. I'm talking to the men listening right now who desperately want to be fathers, but who are standing on the shore with empty hands. You might be battling infertility. You might be navigating the grueling, heartbreaking process of adoption or foster care. And perhaps you might be mourning the devastating loss of a pregnancy or a child. In our culture, when a couple struggles to build a family, all the emotional focus, the check-ins, the flowers, the support, is usually directed towards the mother. And rightly so, her pain is immense. But the father's grief is almost always swallowed by the silence. Men are told to be the rock. They're told to hold it together and to support their partner. They're told to put their own heartbreak on the back burner. Well, society doesn't make space for a man to sit down and say that my heart is broken too. And I wanted this just as badly. I wanted to teach a kid how to ride a bike. I wanted to be a captain for somebody. When Father's Day arrives, it can feel like a cruel joke. You walk through the store past all the displays and you feel like an invisible man. You feel like you have all this fatherly love and all this protective energy, but you don't have anywhere to put it. This longing is a physical weight on your chest. If this is your ghost ship today, I see you. I see the quiet strength that it takes to keep showing up month after month, heartbreak after heartbreak. Your desire to be a father is beautiful, and the grief that you are carrying today is a testament to the immense capacity that you have to love a child who isn't even here yet. I want to validate something for you today from my perspective. Fatherhood is not just a biological event, it's a posture of the heart. And I've talked about this before, the difference between being a dad and being a father. And I know it's called Father's Day, but I make the distinction as being a father is a matter of biology. Being a dad is a matter of love and commitment and time. If you're carrying that deep, protective, guiding love inside of you, even if your arms are empty today, you still have the heart of a father. Your grief is real, your longing is valid, and you have every right to mourn the family that you're fighting so hard to build. Take the space you need today. You don't have to be a rock today. You're allowed to be just human. I want to turn the wheel a little bit and talk to the dads who are listening to this right now, the men who are in the trenches of fatherhood. I see you. And we need to talk about the weight of the captain's burden. Now, we've talked about the ghost ships, but I want to turn the wheel a little bit. I want to talk about men's mental health. In our culture, the script given to fathers is incredibly rigid. And frankly, it's exhausting. From the moment you become a dad, society hands you a massive, heavy anchor and says, "Here, you're the provider, you're the protector, you are the rock." And here's the unspoken rule of being the rock: rocks don't bleed, rocks don't cry, and rocks don't ask for a life raft when they feel like they're drowning. We expect fathers to absorb the financial stress, to absorb the family anxieties, handle discipline, and carry the weight of the world, all without ever showing a single crack in the hull. If a dad admits he is overwhelmed or anxious or depressed, society will look at him like he's failing his primary mission. Because of this, fatherhood can be one of the most profoundly isolating experiences in a man's life. You might be surrounded by your family every single day, but emotionally, you feel like you're stranded on a desert island. When you aren't allowed to express fear or sadness, those emotions don't just vanish, they mutate. In men, untreated depression and anxiety rarely look like crying in bed. It can look like anger. They look like it's a short temper. They look like they're withdrawing into work or maybe just doom scrolling forever. Maybe they're just numbing out with drinks because you have no other outlet to deal with the pressure. Well, if you're a dad listening to this and you feel like you're sinking under the pressure of trying to hold it all together, I'm giving you permission to drop the act. You don't have to be an emotionless rock to be a good father. In fact, if you try to be an emotional rock, you're going to end up sinking your own ship. Your kids don't need a perfect, invincible superhero for a dad. What they need is a human being. They need a dad who knows how to say, "I had a really hard day today and I'm feeling overwhelmed." They need a dad who models what it looks like to struggle, to ask for help, and to take care of his own mental health. We have completely backwards ideas about strength. True strength is not swallowing your pain until it turns into anger and burns your family down. True strength is having the courage to look at your partner or a therapist or a friend and say, "The water is getting high and I need help bailing out my ship." Taking care of your mental health is not a dereliction of your duty as a father. It is the most important part of your job because you cannot navigate your family to safe waters if you're drowning at the wheel. I want to talk about generational curses. I want to acknowledge how hard it is to be healthy, emotionally available. If you've never had a dad like that for yourself, you're trying to navigate waters that your own father never even bothered to map. I want to stay with the dads for another minute because there is a specific group of fathers listening right now who are doing some of the heaviest lifting in the human experience. You are the men who looked at the father that you had, the father who was maybe angry, absent, or emotionally suppressed, maybe even abusive. And you drew a line in the sand and you said, "Well, I don't want to do that. The trauma stops with me. I'm going to break this generational curse." A generational curse isn't some mystical, spooky magic. It's unhealed trauma that's passed down like a bad inheritance. It's a toxic map that your grandfather gave to your father and your father is trying to hand to you. Here's what it takes to break that curse that's so incredibly exhausting. You're trying to navigate waters that your own father never bothered to map. When your toddler throws a massive tantrum, your brain's default setting, the map that you were given, might tell you to hit or to shame them because that's what happened to you. But instead, I want you to take a breath. I want you to get down on their level and speak to them with patience. Every single time you choose patience over anger, every time you choose presence over absence, you're actively rewriting that map that your father tried to hand you. You're charting a brand new ocean for your kids. But navigating without a map is terrifying, and it drains your emotional battery twice as fast as someone who had a healthy model to follow. There is a hidden grief in the process that no one tells you about. As you become gentle, as you become present, as you become a loving father that you've always wanted, it will accidentally highlight the profound tragedy of your own childhood. You're going to look at your 7-year-old and you're going to think, how could my dad have screamed at me when I was this small? Or how could he have abandoned me when I was this wonderful? Being a good father will force you to grieve the father that you didn't have all over again. And that's okay. That grief is normal. It means the work you are doing is real. So if you are a cycle breaker, dad, I want to honor you today. Society might not see the massive internal war that you fight every day just to respond with kindness. They might not see you biting your tongue, swallowing your inherited anger, and choosing to be gentle instead. But I see it. You are doing the bravest, most monumental work a human can do. You're saving your children from the storms that they will never even know existed because you chose to weather them yourself instead of pull them into those storms. You are a great captain. So when we're trying to break generational curses, or when we're trying desperately just to be a good dad, there's a dangerous trap that we can fall into. We swing the pendulum all the way to the other extreme. We tell ourselves that because my dad was always angry, I am never allowed to raise my voice. Or because my dad was absent, I must be 100% present and perfect at every single soccer game, recital, and bedtime. We demand absolute perfection from ourselves. We believe that if we make one mistake, we have failed entirely, and we are doomed to repeat that cycle. We are terrified of ruining our kids. I want you to hear me here. Okay, listen to me. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. Every captain's going to eventually steer the ship through rough waters. You are going to lose your temper. It's not a matter of if you get angry, it's a matter of how you handle it when you get angry. That's what I tell everybody in anger management. You're going to get angry. Anger management is not about avoiding anger. It's about handling it appropriately when you get angry. You are going to miss a game because of work. You're going to miss the wrong thing. You're human. When that happens, your all or nothing brain is going to scream that you're a terrible father. But I'm giving you the grace of the middle ground today. Being a good dad does not mean you never make a mistake. It means you know how to try and repair the hull when you make a mistake. Don't try and teach your kids to be perfect by you trying to be perfect. Teach your kids how to recover when you make a mistake. That's one of the best lessons you will ever teach your kids. Not that they need to be perfect, but when they screw up, teach them how to recover. One of the most profound and healing things that you can ever do for your child is to model for them what a healthy apology looks like. When you lose your temper and yell at your kid, the magic isn't pretending that it didn't happen. The magic is walking into their room 5 minutes later, sitting on the edge of their bed and saying, I am so sorry that I yelled at you. I was feeling overwhelmed and I lost my temper. That was not your fault. You didn't deserve it. I love you. Do you know what happens when you do that? You teach your child that adults are accountable. You teach them that their feelings matter. And most importantly, you teach them that when they eventually mess up in life, they're still worthy of love and forgiveness. Your kids don't need a flawless superhero. They just need a dad who keeps trying. I like to tell people that 90% of parenting is showing up and doing your best. The other 10% is guesswork and learning. Look, your kids, they need a dad who owns his mistakes, who knows how to heal that connection when he damages it. And they need a dad who stays in the middle ground. So give yourself some grace today. Forgive yourself for the times that you let your ship drift. You don't have to be perfect. You're not going to be. You just have to keep showing up, keep patching the hole. Love your family as best you can. That's enough. That's more than enough. Whether you're reflecting on your own father today or whether you're looking at the kind of parent that you want to be, we all have to do a mental health exercise called sorting the cargo. Whether you are reflecting on your own father today, I want you to imagine that on that day that you were born, you were handed a ship, but that ship was not empty. Your father and his father before him already loaded up your cargo holds with traits and habits and coping mechanisms and deeply held beliefs about how the world works. We get just as much cargo from our mothers. Every father hands down a cargo hold to his kids. It happens entirely by accident. It happens by our children observing us. Some of that cargo is explicitly taught. He taught you how to change a tire or to treat a partner or how to manage money. But most of the cargo is not obtained that way. We inherit it silently. You absorbed his anxiety when money was tight, or you inherited his belief that crying was a sign of weakness. You watched how he spoke to your mother and how he spoke about himself in the mirror and how he handled his anger. You watched him closely because a child's brain is designed to mimic their parents to survive. So you took in all these unspoken rules, all those coping mechanisms, and you packed them away in your own cargo hold. And you assumed that's just how life was supposed to be navigated. The burden of an unexamined cargo. The problem is that most of us sail through our entire adult lives without ever stopping to open the boxes down below. We just carry the weight. We act out in anger and think, well, I just have a bad temper like my dad. We work 80 hours and I ignore our families. And I think, well, providing is how I show love. It's just like my dad did. We let his unresolved trauma dictate how we sail our own ships, simply because we haven't stopped to examine what we're actually carrying. But I want to tell you today, you're the captain now, and the captain has the authority to sort the cargo. The first step of sorting the cargo is opening the boxes to find out what is actually valuable. We're going to call this keeping the treasure. Even in the most difficult, complicated relationships, there's almost always some treasure buried somewhere in the hold. If you had a wonderful, loving dad, your hold might be overflowing with it. But if your dad was a pirate who plundered, you might have to dig really deep into the dark corners just to find one single gold coin. But the goal here is to identify the good things that you inherited. What did he give you that actually helps you sail your ship? Maybe he gave you an incredible, resilient work ethic. Maybe he taught you how to fix things with your own two hands so you never have to rely on someone else. Maybe he gave you a sarcastic, somewhat inappropriate sense of humor that helps you survive the dark days. Maybe he just taught you how to bait a hook or how to cook a perfect steak. Maybe he taught you how to appreciate good music. These traits, these skills, these are the small joys. These are your treasures. When you find that treasure, I want you to mentally take it out of the box. I want you to claim it. I want you to polish it up. And I want you to say, my dad gave me this resilience, but it belongs to me now. I'm going to use it to build my life. You do not have to throw the entire legacy of your father away just because some parts of him were broken. You are allowed to hold on to the good parts. You are allowed to pass that treasure down to your own kids. Share it with your friends. It's okay to say, look, I learned this from my dad. Keeping the treasure is how we honor the parts of him that were healthy and the parts of him that loved us. And once you've claimed your treasure, we have to deal with what's left. Because right next to the good work ethic and the sense of humor, there's usually some heavy boxes that are rotting. This is toxic cargo. This might be your anger, your bigotry, emotional suppression, the substance abuse, or the belief that vulnerability is a weakness. This is the script that told you your worth is only measured by your paycheck. It's every single unhealthy coping mechanism that your father used to survive his own storms, which he accidentally or intentionally passed down to you. Now, a lot of us carry this toxic cargo for decades because of a misguided sense of loyalty. We think that this is just how men in my family are. We're just hotheads. We don't talk about feelings. We treat these generational curses as if they are biological facts that we can't change. We feel like if we anger just because it was given to you. You don't have to carry his prejudices, and you don't have to carry his emotional unavailability. Just because it was handed down doesn't mean you have to keep it. When you find a box of toxic cargo in your hold, I want you to mentally pick it up, walk it up to the main deck, and heave it over the side. Throw it overboard. Let it sink to the bottom of the ocean. You can say it out loud. This anger belonged to my dad, but it does not belong to me, and I'm not going to carry this anymore. Throwing the toxic cargo overboard is not an act of betrayal. It's an act of survival. It's the exact moment a generational curse breaks. By refusing to carry that weight of his unhealed trauma, you are ensuring that you will never pass it down to your own children. You're charting a cleaner, safer ocean for your future generations that are going to come after you. So we're coming to the end here. I want to start wrapping up here, but I want to give you some challenges, and we're going to call this the message in a bottle. Okay. I want to challenge you to sit down with a piece of paper and write a letter. If you have a great dad, write him and tell him why. If you have an absent or toxic dad, write a letter and get all of that anger and grief out of your system. And if you are that dad, write a letter of forgiveness to yourself for the mistakes that you've made. Try and learn what you can do different. Now, you don't have to send this letter. These letters are for you. The magic isn't in sending it. The magic is in getting that poison out of your own cargo hold and onto the paper. You can burn it. You can tear it up. You can keep it, or if you're feeling particularly brave and it's safe to do so, go ahead and send it. I want to leave you with a tribute to dads, a message in a bottle from me to all of you, to every kind of father listening. To the dads who are holding it together when the water is rough, I see you. I see the quiet sacrifices you make every single day that go completely unnoticed. I see the weight of the captain's burden that you carry, and I want you to know that your family's safe harbor is built on the strength of your back. To the stepdads, to the foster dads, to the chosen dads, you've proved that fatherhood has nothing to do with blood and everything to do with showing up. Again, that's the difference between dad and father. You looked at that ship that needed a captain and you took the wheel. You are changing lives just by being present. To the cycle breakers, the men who are actively choosing patience when you were taught anger and gentleness when you were taught shame, you are doing the hardest, bravest work in the human experience. You're rewriting your genetic history. To the men whose arms are empty today, but whose hearts are full of a father's love, your longing is beautiful and your grief is valid. I see you today. Finally, to those of you who had to step up and father yourselves, to the ones who had to navigate the storm alone because your captain had abandoned ship, I'm proud of you for the person that you've become. You survived the unnavigable waters and you built a beautiful life anyway. No matter what kind of waters you're navigating today, please know that you're not sailing alone. You survived the storms of the past, and you're going to survive this one too. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for 52 episodes in, for one full year. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing the hard work and rebelling against a world that tells us that we have to be perfect. If today's episode brought you any comfort, please share it with a friend who might be having a hard time this Father's Day. And please subscribe, share with your friends, but take really good care of yourselves this week. Join me next week. I have a special episode planned. I'm going to introduce you to my brain's alter ego. So here is to the close of our first year here and looking forward to the next year of the Pirate Therapist. I'm Lee Perry. I am the Pirate Therapist, and I will talk to you next time.